What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about why on earth this week is going to be absolutely massive for the stock market, because almost every single day has something huge going on that could really shake the markets. I'm also going to break down what the data is telling us about Tesla, and also a very important exchange between Kathy Wood and Elon Musk about the future of our economy. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla's up 3.23% for the day, at least for Friday, and it does look pretty decent so far from a technical standpoint. But once you see the big headlines coming out for this week, everything could really change in either direction. I'm going to show you exactly what the dates are. So for Tuesday to start us off. All right, that's the first big day for the week. Tuesday is when we have the core inflation rate, or the CPI year over year, the month over month, and also the inflation rate, also known as CPI, all coming out 1 hour before the market opens. So please be ready for this. I expect a big move by the markets and could really determine what the Fed ends up doing the next day. Now, one thing that's not good about this is PPI came out. PPI was up 0.2% year over year, and core PPI was up about 0.3%, I believe. But overall, it was hotter than expected, and that's not the best of signs for CPI. That's often an indicator that this is going to be hot. I actually have a very nice analysis to give you guys. I'm going to do it tomorrow, though, and it's going to actually give you a good understanding about what this means for CPI and what you should be expecting for Tuesday. Now, on top of that, this is going to be so big because it will affect the Fed's policies, because on Wednesday, the day after, we have the FOMC meeting. And we know when the Fed talks, the market can move like crazy, especially when Jerome Powell speaks. If you don't believe me, just check this out real quick. On SPY, just a couple of days ago, on the 30th of November, Powell was speaking, and SPY went from 393 all the way up to 410 in just a day. So it's a crazy $17 move to the upside in just one day, because Jerome Powell mentioned the fact that the soft landing is still possible. But as of right now, guys, in my opinion, it looks less possible than before. It seems extremely unlikely. And I personally believe that I agree with the point Elon Musk is making, and that is the landing is going to be hard. And I believe that real pain is coming based off what the data is showing us, but that really is a video for another day. Let's just talk a little bit more about this week. Now, what else is big for the week is for Thursday, we have jobless claims coming out. This is important because we want to see what's going on with the employment data. If the jobs are way too strong, the market is not going to like that. We want more pain in this economy, because it's going to lead to a better future for the long term. It's going to increase the odds of inflation slowing down. It also means that we need changes like this to really address the problems caused over the last few years. And finally, I don't think there's much news coming out for Friday, but we also have quad witching on Friday. That's going to be massive for the markets too, because of the fact that we have all these options expirations, and we know this is going to cause crazy volatility. So like I said before, Tuesday to Friday, I expect lots of volatility. I expect the market to go either up really hard and down, or maybe just start to crash very, very quickly. And to be honest with everyone, as of right now, the trend looks more in favor of the bears. The trend looks more bearish because we're getting some bearish signals, at least as of right now. The treasury yields are starting to climb after PPI was hotter than expected. And this is often a bearish indication for the markets. And finally, if you want to talk about what Elon Musk and Cathie Wood were also talking about for the longer term future, Cathie Wood basically mentioned that she did an analysis on the bonds market and she found that it may be signaling that the Fed is making a serious mistake in her opinion. She mentioned the fact that the Fed is actually going a little bit too aggressively when it comes to their rate hikes, and this could actually lead to a recession that's actually worse than many people would have anticipated, leading to inflation to come down even harder and putting a serious risk of deflation in this economy. So that's what she believes is going to happen. It's just her 2 cents. Obviously, she's not always going to be perfectly correct, but it is a possibility, right? And Elon Musk is also taking the same stance. Elon Musk also agrees with her. He's also saying that the Fed is going too hard. As I actually mentioned this in my video from yesterday, this is very important, guys, because for the longer term future, there is pain that's about to come. And neither Kathy Wood or Elon Musk are seeing a soft landing like Jerome Powell mentioned like last week. It's not necessarily what it's looking like. It looks like it's going to be a hard landing, and it is very possible the Fed is going too hard on these hikes. At least that's what Elon Musk and Kathy Wood are saying. We could all debate on that, but I just wanted to at least put this out there. Now, for Tesla specifically, we have good news and bad news. The good news is, well, the short interest is starting to go up a bit, showing signs that more shorts are starting to pile into Tesla. However, when it tends to push up like a little bit in this way, it tends to cool off just a little bit here and there before picking a big direction after the big events. And I believe that's what's likely to happen. However, it could still show signs of something completely different if these big institutions already know something, right? Because someone already knows something almost all the time. Many of these institutions have a good idea of what inflation will most likely do, and they're either properly hedged or not. And shorting Tesla could be one way for them to hedge. And at the same time, they could be preparing for something else because, like I said before, guys, the trends are not looking the best for the markets. Mondays are historically about green like 53% of the time for Tesla, so that is a good sign. However, I also wanted to note that we're getting some nice volume and lots of buyers are stepping in around this like 175 to 177 level. So that's another good sign that Tesla is seeing some more buyers than before, especially after how it bounced. And the price pairs ratio came up a bit on Friday. That's a good sign, and Tesla may actually outperform the market, at least just temporarily for Monday, but everything could change by Tuesday through Friday, depending on the data. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention is the fact that as of right now, before any of the data comes out, the expected move for Tesla is on the upside a maximum of $190, and on the downside about $167. That's the weekly expected move, so it's very likely Tesla will stay between this range for Monday. However, the later days could completely change if the Fed ends up shocking everyone or something else happens. So still be prepared for that, anyways. Now let's go on with the charts and talk about what's going on with Tesla and the markets. Firstly, on SPY. On the daily, it's not a very, very nice candle I'm seeing. This is looking pretty weak, very indecisive. And I do believe that there is a good chance SPY could come down and retest this 391 level and maybe kind of chop around here for tomorrow. I don't expect way too much. However, everything could really change once the big data comes out on CPI day. And as of right now, it's looking a little bit more bearish for the markets, in my opinion, because so far we're just retesting these lower levels. We're starting to see SPY make these lower highs and lower lows. And on top of that, we're starting to see the yield curves starting to push to the upside. This is often a bearish indication for the markets, especially because we have this gap right here. Once again, not the best of signs. And on top of that, the VIX is also looking very similar. It actually bounced off almost 19 bucks, a little bit below that. And if it does continue to push up to this resistance level, I mentioned previously that the VIX could shop a little bit maybe tomorrow, but then if it continues to push up, this is going to be correlated with the market starting to come down, not the best of signs for Tesla. The dollar index is also near its bottom, beginning to base around here. I expect this to maybe trade kind of sideways just a little bit before a potential push to the upside, which would be very bearish for the markets too. So in order for there to be a bullish thesis for the overall market, we need to see SPY first get a clean break above resistance around this like 397 level. If we want to like retest and actually break above 397 and finally get to this 400 resistance followed by this ascending wedge, it's looking less and less likely like this is going to happen unless the Fed shocks everyone. It's still very possible, but as I mentioned before, it looks more like the bears are going to take over and SPY is going to go for this gap fill around this 381 level. And if we break below 390, it's very likely this thing is going to come tumbling down to about 380 a share pretty fast. Now, I also want to note on the QQQ before I talk about Tesla is we have a very similar setup here. We have a very clean looking double top like formation on the QQQ. We actually broke below our neckline right here just at one point. And in my opinion, the QQQ is in a very bad state because if this thing ends up retesting 179, this 179 to 180, not 180, I meant 279 to 280 level, this thing is likely going to come tumbling down to 274. And if it doesn't bounce around there, in my opinion, it's going to just come crashing down. And remember, what dictates this is Tesla and Apple. So if this thing starts breaking down, it's often going to be correlated with Tesla and Apple coming down too. And as for Apple, we have a very similar setup. We have this big gap down here. If Apple does not hold 140, I expect this thing to hit the 130s, the high 130s to mid 130s pretty quickly, and that could cause the whole market to start crumbling down. Now, what's good about Tesla is there is potential from a technical standpoint for this thing to continue to pop up just a bit, but the weekly expected move maximum is around like 190, so I do not see Tesla breaking above that anymore. And also, we are seeing a new level of resistance that's forming, so it is going to slow Tesla down as well. So, given this setup, we actually have a pretty decent looking setup for Monday if we do continue to see nice volume and the buyers step in. And you also have to note that someone always knows something, so it could go either way. And I want everyone to be prepared for that. But I do believe we could see Tesla retest 180. All right, and if this thing breaks 180 and we end up breaking past like this 182.5 level, we could see this thing hit about $185 a share. It's very possible, and I do believe that if Tesla is set to push up a bit more, that's going to be very close to the top. This thing's going to trade a little bit sideways, and then after that, I expect maybe a bit of a sell off near the end of the day. Tesla maybe gets rejected off 185, coming all the way back down to 180 or so, maybe dropping a little lower if it is extreme, and just seeing a lot more chop from here. And I believe that because there's going to be some indecision that's happening because of the fact that we have CPI and we don't truly know exactly what's going to happen. So remember, if CPI is hotter than expected, there's a risk that Tesla's going to come tumbling down and retest the support zone around 170, if not 166 again. And if the Fed comes out and they rug pull everyone, do not forget about all of these gaps to the downside for Tesla. Not every single one has to be filled, but there's a good chance that another one could get filled in the future. And that's why I want everyone to be very, very cautious when playing this. There are some like really down there. I don't really see those getting filled. I don't see Tesla even dropping below like 100. That would be very surprising. But if this thing doesn't hold this like 166 level, I'm going to be watching 150. So watch that very carefully. You can see right here, Tesla had a lot of chop around this zone right here, around this 150 level. I could see Tesla come all the way down here if the whole market gets a big collapse, and that's very possible and more likely to happen over the next couple of weeks. Now, I want to also bring up the fact that on SPY, we had another major rejection around the previous resistance level, and it's right about here. So we're in that state where we're getting that small pop. We actually popped up just a little bit, and we're going to decide if we're going to continue to chop here and maybe pop up first before crashing down, or we just crash down from here. But it seems very likely that a big move to the downside is coming very soon, in my opinion, looking at the current price action, also what the data and the yields are telling us. So I do believe that the bearish sentiment on Tesla is going to be what's correct over the next couple of weeks. So I want everyone to just be prepared for that just in case. I also believe that a lot of people were expecting a Santa rally. I don't really think it's going to happen maybe in that manner. Maybe the market comes down and maybe chops a bit near the end of the year, but then going into 2023, I do expect more downside, guys. I do expect SPY to come down pretty hard, and I really want everyone to be prepared, and it is going to bring Tesla down too. So for tomorrow, what am I expecting? Once again, like I mentioned, I anticipate there could be another pop again since Tesla's starting to hold these higher levels. I'm going to be watching this 180 resistance. If Tesla could break it, I'm going to be watching 185, which I believe Tesla could actually retest. Now, the absolute maximum expected move is like 190. There's no guarantee we go that high, but I do believe that we're going to end up somewhere around here. Now, if this thing gets a big rejection off this zone, expected to chop around 180, and it could end up coming down. If Tesla ends up dropping, watch 175, 170, then 166. Those are the key support zones. Like I mentioned before, I mean, it's very hard to tell, especially given how bearish the market's looking. Tesla looks like it might outperform the markets, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla hypothetically gets a slow push to the upside. This is just my 2 cents. I can't guarantee this will happen. We retest like 185, kind of chop around this level a little bit more, and then we slowly see shorts pile in, and this thing just bleeds a little bit as the day goes on. Maybe turns a little bit red here and there, and we get a pretty sideways day because I believe there's lots of indecision in the markets, especially with all the reports coming out. I do believe that Tesla is going to be very indecisive as the day goes on. Maybe we chop like a little bit harder back and forth, but then going into Tuesday, I expect a huge move in either direction. I think it's a little bit more likely to be to the downside for the markets, and this could slow Tesla down. And then we have FOMC. I mean, that could also cause the market to come down pretty hard. So please be very, very careful and very mindful of what you're doing. I don't expect too much, guys. I know you don't like to hear that, but if you look at the way Tesla's been moving recently, there are lots of periods where Tesla comes down, it just chops back and back and forth for a straight 2 days, pushes up a bit, just goes back and forth and back and forth. It looks pretty boring. So this is what I'm essentially seeing. If this thing is set for another inverse head and shoulders like formation, there's also a possibility of us retesting like 175 like this, coming down and then bouncing off of it. That's also very possible. I'm just not like too certain about that as of right now. I don't really expect too much tomorrow, guys. The bigger days are going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so forth. But anyways, that's essentially what I have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. Do what you have to do. Be ready for tomorrow and be ready for the week. We have big days ahead of us. Thank you, Tesla to the moon, because for the long term, I'm still extremely, extremely bullish on Tesla. Thank you and peace out.